Welcome back to the Morning Toast. We are so excited to be sitting down with someone we very much respect and talk about all the time here at the Morning Toast. It is Kevin O'Leary, also known as Mr. Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Wonderful, for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. This is wonderful.
It is wonderful.
It's wonderful, unwonderful.
Yes.
That's great.
Can you tell us, you brought us a gift. You set up this entire little moment. What is going on here?
Well, today's a very special day in New York, and I haven't been to New York for over a year because of the whole COVID thing. But today, my wine company is going public on NASDAQ through a SPAC. In other words, it got acquired into a public company.
Oh.
And that's a very big day for us.
Wow.
We have been growing and growing and growing for 7 years. We're now one of the largest wine companies in North America. And this is a big moment because we'll be making lots of announcements at 4 o'clock when I ring the closing bell.
Wow.
Any sneak peeks for us?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, but let me just put on my very important elements when you're in the wine business. Just a little je ne sais quoi.
Oh!
Right? And
That looks
this
great.
is my test de vin. Let me explain what this is. This is when I'm in the cellar, because I blend all the wines, or at least the O'Leary wines you're seeing. We go into the oak caskets and we take a little siphon called the Thief and put a little bit into here, let it mix with the air, taste it, and then spit it out. Because if you do that for every barrel, you're going to get really wasted.
Yes.
So that's the whole idea. So the test of envy has become the symbol of winemaking all around the world. And there's very famous organizations like the Chevalier de Test de Vin.
I love when you say that on Shark
Which,
Tank.
I'm a member of, and those of us who blend wines. Now, these two wines I brought to celebrate with these are my most award-winning wines and my biggest sellers. My Chardonnay, and it's more of the Montrachet style, which is the French style of making Chardonnay. Very crisp, very light, less oak. And then my incredible Cabernet Sauvignon, which has won award after award after award.
Wow.
And even Andy, our cameraman, when he was proposed to his fiancée, he took all the insurance necessary, which was 2 glasses of this.
Oh my God.
And she immediately said, "Yes, I'll marry you." That's what happened.
Oh, wow.
And you know what? Like, I feel like you've kind of made a mark for yourself in Shark Tank as the wine guy. And when I met you, I feel like a lot of people don't know this, but it's pretty common. You and your wife taught me that you can tell what kind of wine is in the bottle based on the shape of the bottle. Is that correct?
You can. This is the classic French Cabernet, and that's the classic Chardonnay. Now, what's happened in America, the most popular wines today are the Cabernet Sauvignon Red and the Chardonnay. Chardonnay exploded when they started growing the grapes in California decades ago, and they started competing globally. And California Chard started kicking French Chard's butts a lot in international contests where it's blind taste testing. So the wine industry, the American wine industry, particularly in Washington State, Sonoma Valley, Napa Valley, it's really a big business now. But there's an old joke about the wine business. If you want to become a millionaire in the wine business, start as a billionaire. Because everybody blows their brains out. They make it a labor of love. I'm in it to make money.
Yeah.
And the only way you can make money in the wine business is have huge scale, be able to ship millions of cases, be able to fulfill Costco and Target, my own wines. And the new trend, which we've really blown up big, is 46 states allow you to ship directly to your customer. Remember, a case of wine weighs 39 pounds.
Yeah.
So if you get it direct, it's coming right to your door. And I have built that business up to being the largest direct consumer in the world,
Wow.
at least in North America. I can't say the globe yet because I don't know what they're doing in China.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I'll kick the Chinese butts too. But
And
it's
in COVID, I mean, direct to your home wine is
Everything.
the answer.
Yeah, and what happened was people didn't stop drinking wine during COVID, but what really got crushed was our business to restaurants.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's when we replaced it with the direct-to-consumer and blew that business up even bigger.
Yeah.
And now people are saying, I don't want to, carry 12 bottles back from the store. Just
No.
ship me another case, Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And I oblige.
So I think one of my favorite interesting facts about you is now you're conquering wine. You've very much made yourself the wine connoisseur. But what you don't get enough credit for is you were also the original inventor of a childhood staple of ours, the Oregon Trail.
Yes, the Oregon Trail, Rita Rabbit, Where in the World's Carmen Sandiego, all those titles, yes. And that's how I came up. That was my first business, was educational software.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was it. And we used to develop all kinds of titles. Oregon Trail was an incredible product because it started in Minneapolis, I think Minnesota. And I may have forgotten exactly which city, but I remember when we bought the title, we acquired it, I was blown away by how rich the storytelling was in it.
Yes, your
Yeah.
ox died of sedentary. Like,
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Yeah, and people would try and get through the brutal lifestyle of moving west in that time. But we invested a lot of money into it and made it one of the standards of 110,000 school buildings in America.
Yes, and
We were among those schools.
Right, it's literally a cornerstone, like a staple of millennial, like early education. I like have very fond memories of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We sold that company for $4.2 billion.
Very
Wow.
nice.
And I started with nothing in the basement, sort of a garage thing, and the 10 of us that were founders, that was our big liquidity event.
Yeah.
And since then, I've made many mistakes, but also made a couple of good investments too. So it was a really big, moment for us because we really had nothing, and then boom. And I remember the day we went back to the office, and I said to everybody, what are you going to do? We can all retire. And everybody said, I don't want to retire.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
So you entered the wine business as a billionaire.
Well, yes. But I've really learned a lot from the wine business. Most of the companies that I've made money with have been run by women that I've invested in, and the wine business included. I remember when it started, it was actually a Shark Tank deal years and years ago called Zips Wine,
Yes.
which is a single-serve wine.
Oh, with
I
the
remember
Do
with
you
the
remember
lid.
that?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You guys went back and forth,
Yes, and it was one of the famous, first time a guy ever came back twice.
Yes.
But I'll tell you the story of that. The day after that aired, and I won the deal, I thought the place to get this into would be Costco.
Yeah.
And there's a very famous story about Costco. This woman named Annette Alvarez, who started in Costco in Florida, in Miami, sweeping floors. She had such an incredible palate to taste wine that she quickly moved up the ranks to the regional buyer, and then she became the national buyer, and then the head buyer for the whole of Costco. And what you have to know is Costco is the largest wine buyer in the world. Period. Nobody's bigger anywhere on earth. So they get everything. She had 12 buyers underneath her, and it was also known that nobody could ever get to her. Every wine company in the world wanted to talk to her, but she just wouldn't take calls. So after Shark Tank, I thought, I wonder if she's a Shark Tank fan. And I got a guy on my staff that goes into the dark net and knows how to get cell numbers. And so he got her cell number for me, and I called it. And I left her a message saying, hey, it's Kevin O'Leary in Shark Tank. I have no idea if you watch the show at all, but I have this product called Zips. I'd like to show it to you. 20 minutes later, the phone rings. It's Annette Alvarez. And she says, you were rude to Barbara last night. I went, what? What does that have to do with anything? She said, no, we're not doing any business till you apologize to Barbara.
Wow.
I said, what did I do wrong? She said, you were rude to her. You cut her off. She was speaking. I said, that happens every day on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Plus, you want to have less out of Barbara, not more. Anyways, we made it work, and she said, look, I'll give you 1 hour, John Wayne Airport, this Saturday, and I want to meet your wife.
Oh, wow.
I want to know who would marry a guy like you.
Right.
I said, okay. And I said to Linda, we're going to John Wayne Airport. We're going to meet Annette Alvarez. And here's where it all starts. We meet her. We sit down with her. She says, Kevin, let me tell you something about the wine business you don't know. If you want to make money in the wine business and not be one of these schmoes that just starts a little winery and says, oh, look, I got a winery, you have to be able to ship me 150,000 cases in a day.
Wow.
And I said, Annette, I can't do that. She said, you can if you partner with Vintage Wine Estates, a guy named Pat Roney. You go cut a deal with him, you come back to me and watch what happens. And she was the woman who gave me the advice that turned this whole thing and blew it up, and now we're going public today.
Wow. Well, congrats.
Yes, but I'm just telling you, listen to women sometimes.
All the time.
Yeah.
I shut up and listen a lot because that was great information.
That's so interesting. And, because it's very, you see you on Shark Tank, it's such a big show. And I think a lot of people are on the misconception that that's all you do. Like you're a famous person now who made, his billions on your educational company. And now you just are a famous person who does Shark Tank, but you're still very much active in a lot of companies, correct?
Yeah, I have 35 plus portfolio companies across a wide range of activities, everything commercial kitchens. We do insecticides. We've got wireless charging companies. We make a very famous gym equipment for condominiums here in New York. That business exploded during COVID. We have the wine business, obviously, and many, many, many others. I will tell you something. Each day there's a catastrophe in some part of my business, portfolio. Something horrible's happening, and at the same time, the phone rings and it's some euphoric outcome, like somebody's buying another one of our businesses.
Right.
And it's just like a passion play every day.
Yeah.
On one end, total shit. On the other side, fantastic things.
Yeah.
And I've kind of gotten into the groove now, and I say, well, okay, that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
You can't make everything work, and then every once in a while, boom. And
Yeah.
so
It hits.
It hits big. Like,
So an estimate, how many companies do you think you've invested in from Shark Tank?
Oh, it's got to be maybe over 100 by now. I've been doing this for 13 years.
Wow.
And how many, an estimate, do you think you've made a pretty good return on?
Well, what happens is, let me give you the ratio because we've got all this data. In normal venture capital, when you go to Boston and talk or to Silicon Valley to a venture capital firm, they do 10 deals and you look over 8 years what happens. 2 of them are absolutely wild successes. They make 40, 50 times on their money. And then about 4 of them are living dead. They're still in business, but they're just
Barely getting by.
And unfortunately waste a lot of your time. And the rest go to 0. And so it's sort of 20% work in the real world. In Shark Tank, 50% work. And here's why. Here's the secret sauce. So 50% of our deals make money because see how we're sitting here doing social media and you reach out and you've got millions of people listening to you. Your customer acquisition costs are very low.
Yes.
Right? We get 100 million eyeballs a year on Shark Tank through syndication in 23 countries.
Wow.
So when we put a product on Shark Tank, it's not uncommon to get all your money back in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly what happens. And so our customer acquisition costs are either 0 or very low. So even a marginal company, a shitty company that can't acquire customers gets this jolt of free advertising for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And boom, they just keep selling stuff. And we have all this stuff documented, the rise. So the whole thing about Shark Tank is getting on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And if you can get a deal, then you get the updates, which are really powerful. Some
I
companies
love the updates.
and they
Beyond
get
the
more
tank.
sales
Beyond
on
the tank. We love.
We love.
But you get more sales on updates sometimes than you get on the main show.
Huh.
So you want to get a deal. That's the secret sauce to Shark Tank.
That's so
that is
interesting.
What's your favorite category or type of product that comes into the tank when you're like, oh, I'm listening to this one?
I love companies, right across the board, every category included, that has already figured out social media and direct-to-consumer sales. And they know their customer acquisition cost. When they walk on that set and say, look, we don't sell retail, we sell direct-to-consumer. And here's our customer acquisition cost, here's the margins we make. All I'm doing then is pouring gasoline on the fire. If they're asking for $1 million, I'm happy to give it to them.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is we're going to just blow that business up because they've solved all the problems already.
Like the infrastructure's already there.
Exactly. And the ones that those are the deals I tend to do. Anything run by a woman gets priority for me because I've made so much money with women. I'm just, I'm biased in some ways. I shouldn't be, but
That's fair.
women tend to mitigate risk. You know that old expression, you want something done, give it to a busy mother?
Yeah.
Like they can keep a lot of stuff in the air at once, and that's what you need in a small business. And also, they're much more savvy on social.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
And women are more likely to engage and share on social, so you want a woman speaking to them.
And, well, the same way you do it. You connect with these other people, and they just want to hear what's next from you.
Right.
Well, companies that have figured that out have very, very powerful business models.
Yeah. And so what would you say is your most successful business investment from Shark Tank? Is it Plated, even though that wasn't?
It is. It's a New York City deal in some sense, right? It was started here by a couple of entrepreneurs. They came on the show. They had a ridiculous valuation. They didn't get a deal. A year later, they run into me in the street and say, hey, listen, we've been tenderized by the real world.
Right.
We're willing to cut a deal. And so we do it. We do a deal, and then
That's
they get
crazy.
back into the tank in a follow-up. And then one day we get a call from Albertsons right after Amazon bought Whole Foods and said, we need to buy a digital platform.
Right.
340 million smackaroos.
Wow.
And the business was like 36 months old.
That's
so
crazy.
those dudes rode into the sunset. Right?
That's amazing. We love so many of the episodes where you have guest sharks. We learn so much from them. Who was your dream guest shark for the tank?
Have they already been on?
Well, no. My dream guest shark is Mr. Wonderful. I love
Me
that
too.
guy.
I love that
I
guy.
love that guy, yeah. Look, we've had a lot of guest sharks. We've had all kinds of guest sharks. Some are better than others. Some, what happens with Shark Tank, and this includes all the people that come and pitch, 100,000 people apply. 340 get picked. 220 get taped. Maybe 180 air.
Wow.
Okay, so here's what happens. You've been practicing for months. You know you're going to get on that carpet.
Yeah.
And dun, 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 dun. You walk out the door.
The
and
music.
even though you've practiced, now it's real.
Yeah.
26 cameras rolling, jibs moving down, steady cam all around you, and you freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's painful. I have to say, at least for me, I can think of one episode in particular that will, for me, ever go down as the worst pitch ever. And he actually went to your college.
Yeah, he went
I think
to
that's why I
Colgate.
remember him. He had that app that was like basically a map of the airport, and it would help you like find restaurants and and he
I
like
remember
and he
that.
was like such a classic millennial, like needing validation. And then he went back and he was like crying in his mom's arms. Like it was just all so like funny.
But he sucked.
And no, and the app was like he was going around to different airports and writing down like where there was no real like infrastructure. Like, do you have like memories or things that you like always will remember as being like funny or particularly like terrible?
You know, I get in a lot of trouble for being the mean shark. I'm not the mean shark. I just tell the truth.
Yeah.
When it sucks, it sucks.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fair.
And it's very important that they know it sucks so that they don't do it again. Stop sucking.
Yeah.
Like try and come up with something better and then come back. We've had people come back, but it's really a bad idea if it's going to go to zero and you take your family's mortgage down. You know.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
you seem like you're very much on like the tough love side of things.
Well, I'm just the truth. And if you can't deal with me, imagine the real world. What's
Yeah.
it going to do to you?
Yeah.
You're going to get fried. And so that's my attitude. But, you know, I got to listen to Barbara and I got to listen to Lori.
Yeah.
You know.
But you seem like you love it. Like it's a great part of your job.
Yeah, but they, you know, what they do is they say, well, look, I'm not going to invest in you. This is Barbara all the time. I'm not going to invest in you, but you keep doing what you're doing. And I look at her and say, what are you doing? Like, don't you have any morals?
Right.
Like,
No
now, the only
scruples.
reason Barbara gets to the Shark Tank set each year is I buy her a new broom.
You guys have such a great dynamic. I'm curious, is that for show, or you guys act like that behind, like off screen too? You all have a crazy
we're,
dynamic.
We're like friends. We've been dealing with each other for over 13 years. So we try and be cordial. But we're competitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're competing for deals, and we like each other and all that stuff. Barbara's a great cook. When I'm in New York, I'll often go and have dinner with her. She's great. We're also incredibly busy. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen all the sharks get in a room during the off season ever. It's impossible to get them back together.
Not
We-
even for
we
a
do
birthday party?
Well, we can't. But everybody's so everywhere, and so the only date we know we're going to see each other all together is the first shoot date of Shark Tank, when we just clear our schedules and we go do it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's such a great show. It's become such like a part of like American culture and like business culture.
And like business education, I think that especially for us, but I think for so many people, like everything we know about business, like
We
comes
know from Shark Tank.
So no one thought that would happen. Certainly, most people thought business would be boring.
Yeah.
That did not turn out to be the case. I remember the moment that it all changed. I'll never forget it. I think it was Boston Logan Airport. I've been doing Shark Tank for 3 years. No one knew anything about it. Nobody watched it. It was just, you know, the only people watching were 2 dogs and a cat.
Right.
That was about it. But all of a sudden, in year 4, something happened. You know, it was coming out of that really big financial crisis in 2008, and entrepreneurship started to be very hip, and Shark Tank caught on. And I was with my wife and daughter at the airport, and I went into the men's room, and I, you know, was at the urinal doing my business, and there was a guy to my right, 2 over, right, and he kept looking at me, and I noticed he kept looking at me, and he said, "Are you that guy on Shark Tank?" I said, "Yeah." That's the first time it ever happened. He said, "You're an asshole." And I said, "Why would you say that?" He said, "Last night on Shark Tank, you took 51% of a startup. That's outrageous."
Business is business.
I said, "Hey, it's my money. I'll cry if I want to. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?" And I said to him, "Listen, a lot of people make deals in bathrooms, but not here today, my friend.
Right.
I'm going to run my business the way I see I should."
100%.
And he couldn't have known that Linda and Savannah are out there. He goes outside, and I find out later that he said to Linda, "That asshole Kevin O'Leary's in the men's room."
Oh, didn't know it was your wife.
No, and she said, "I know."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, it's really an amazing show, and I feel like before Shark Tank, entrepreneur meant unemployed, and now it really means like you've shaped a culture around the word, and it's something people want to aspire to be and start their own businesses, and I just love it.
We do. We
Well,
love the
let's
entrepreneurial
talk about
spirit.
what you've done here, because you're the girl that's basically telling everybody you're unemployed, right?
Yeah.
You're a comedian,
Yeah.
which is erratic work,
Yes.
to say the best.
Yes, yes,
and then you come in here, you know, with your sister every day, and you produce this, which has actually been very successful for you. So you're unemployed, but you're making money.
Right, it's the beautiful poetic irony of it all.
It is, but I wonder how many millennials now, even Gen Zers, are going to look at your model, both of you, and say, "I need to do that," because you have control over your own destiny.
Yes, I think we're living in a world where kids today want to grow up to be influencers, podcasters. because part of the job is to make it look easy, take beautiful photos, filter everything. What a lot of people don't see is a lot of the job is boring paperwork like you would do at any other 9 to 5 job. But influencing is the one industry that's literal sole purpose is to make it look fabulous, make it look fun, make it look easy, make it look, easy road to money and fame. When in reality, it's actually a lot of work. And we do a daily podcast, which is crazy because most people do weekly podcasts. And I can't count on my hand the number of podcasts that launch and never go past 10 episodes. Even producing 1 episode a week is incredible hard work. So it's just one of those things that looks super easy. And I think that's why a lot of people want to do it. It looks like it's the, the fast track to money and fame. When in reality, it's like actually the opposite.
But it's more than that because, if you ask millennials, 8 out of 10 will say, I'm going to be an influencer. You can't just become an influencer. The market is really cruel that way. You have to have something about you. Maybe, your story, the fact that you were a comic, that gives the magnetism that creates an interest for other people. Most people don't have that.
Yeah, well, it's so saturated right now.
Well, it's not only saturated, breaking through, even if you have it, is next to impossible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Getting your first 1 million followers is really, really hard, let alone 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really can't get traction till you get scale.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I've learned, dealing with all the influencers that I deal with and the stuff we do is that, unfortunately, for some people, they don't realize early enough that people smell bullshit a mile away.
Yes.
And when you get canceled, you're canceled.
Yeah.
You ain't coming back.
Well, we might beg
We
to
beg
differ.
to differ. We keep whack-a-mole.
We wrote the book on cancellation and cancel culture, literally. And I actually disagree. I think we're living in a really interesting time right now where it's like a rubber band that's going to snap. I think that for a while that was the case. Like if you had even a stench of scandal or controversy.
What about all these people that got Me Too'd?
Well, that's different.
Yeah, we try
Well,
to
what's
separate
different?
We try to separate
cancellations versus crimes.
Yes. So we feel like cancel culture is this huge bubble where we're like always canceling people for saying bad things and doing bad things, when actually the two of them are incredibly different. If you were Me Too'd, you are a criminal. Like that is separate. We're talking about cancel culture. You have tweets resurface from when you were in high school. You make a joke that not everyone thinks is funny because, we're living in overly sensitive times. Like that type of cancel culture is so toxic because, first of all, it leaves no room for growth.
Okay, Roseanne Barr.
Ooh.
I'll tell you why I bring that one up.
Okay.
She changed forever the morality contracts in Hollywood that I was subject to in subsequent contracts. The story, just so we bring it to viewers to understand here, and I want to hear your response because you're saying not necessarily, right? She said something very off color.
Yes.
Very. That was her comedy 10 years ago.
Yes.
Okay? The network that was sponsoring the #1 show had 80 million, I think 68 million worth of upfront advertising. The CEO canceled it an hour and a half later, gave all the money back to the advertisers.
Yeah.
Canceled the show. That's extreme.
Yes, because I do think her tweet was incredibly wrong and
So
offensive.
where does it fit in your continuum? I'm trying to press the
So we like to say that every cancellation is not one size fits all. I need to know all the details. So
well, you know that
for
detail.
for that Roseanne thing, like she was however old she is, like a 50-year-old woman, like saying something in present times that she really should not have said. Like I actually think like her being removed from the show was the best thing for it. I don't know if the show needed to be canceled in its entirety. There were other people working on the show.
120 people.
100, yeah.
They brought it back in a different format, and I think a lot of people got their jobs back. But
and it's still on, and it's successful.
Look, I'm not endorsing what she said, but I'm pointing out to you that these extremes on cancellation are really serious.
Yes.
And it has materially affected her ability to get back into her business.
Yes.
And so it was horrible what she did.
Yeah,
but
so
that was her comedy.
Yeah, there has to be consequence. Like we live in a time, and I think we've all kind of come to the realization, we live in a time that's very different than the time that was 10 years ago. And we all need to adjust. And I think that if you're still saying certain things in this day and age, like there are consequences for what you say, but I don't think that people should be held to the same standard. You make a joke in 2010 and it resurfaces in 2021. That's not fair. We're living in different times.
Well, then you're right in that case, because I don't think you can be sexist or racist, period. Not now, not back then, not in the future. I don't think that's a good thing for anybody. And I think that's what got her in real trouble, because she took something that maybe she thought could pass 10 years ago and tried it out today, and then
Yeah.
done. So you're the same, I assume.
Comedy is a really interesting space.
Well, that's what I wanted to probe into.
Right. So comedy, like most comedians have podcasts, and comedy and podcasting couldn't be more different. Comedy is no holds bar. People fight for the right to say whatever they want because it's a joke, and you should be able to make a joke about anything. Whereas podcasting comes from the digital space, and the digital space is so sensitive.
Comedy, there's many classic comics that are really, really on the edge.
Dave Chappelle.
On the edge on sexist, racist stuff. Like, you can't do that anymore.
No.
I'm talking about comedy and the comedy vertical. Going into a club and really laying it out there.
My personal style of comedy is very specific and intentional. Like, I do self-deprecating comedy. I make fun of myself because no one can be mad at you if you're making fun of yourself. You're not offending anyone. I'm literally just offending myself.
Okay, so you think those comics have to change? They can't do their traditional routines anymore.
I think comedy is like the last remaining corner of the earth where you can say crazy things, but I don't think it'll last long. It's already very touchy.
You're saying you won't last long.
Yeah, one won't last long. It's still, I think, a frontier that's in question. I think people are sticking up for the right to joke about what you want to joke about, and then there are people who are like, you can't make jokes about that. And I think depending on the comedian or depending on the celebrity or influencer, when we say like you can be canceled and you can come back, you have to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. No corporation's going to give you a job. No brand is going to endorse you. Like, you need to make the path for yourself, because the industry and the world that we live in is not going to give you a second chance.
So you are canceled in the sense you can't go into mainstream. You have to do it yourself.
Yes.
And you need to find your audience, and you have to start from scratch. And then you build something that
is impenetrable.
You are in charge of your own destiny.
No one can cancel you because you own your own show. You make all your own revenue. You make your own merch. Like, you don't rely on any other company.
But when you're beholden to a larger company, and we're, in these extremely sensitive times, like, that's corporate culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this model you've developed for yourselves, actually, proven it out, is very desirable for many people who want to control their own destiny.
Yeah.
I think you work harder than you would in a corporate environment. You have more risk in your life because you don't know what can happen.
You have to put up your own money when you start it.
And you also may make one mistake and get fried and have to start again.
Yeah. But the beautiful thing about the internet is that, like, it's just the Wild West. Like, you can do anything you want, and there's so many people on it. Like, we've just kind of cycled through so many different stages of our business. We're entering a new one every week. Like, that's just, you have to keep up with it, and like, you have to shed your old skin and just keep moving forward if you want to stay in this industry for a long time.
I think you do, don't you?
Of course.
You've bypassed all the traditional media. Like, it used to be, you'll never get on this network again, you'll never get this, you'll never get that, and it was all controlled by Hollywood agents and all that stuff. And to a certain extent, television still is that way. But I have more followers now than most of the networks I'm on.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a strange phenomenon that, I can reposition that content, modify it somewhat, and get to a brand new audience in a different way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the model doesn't keep going in that direction. And that, linear television continues to decline as social, this is kind of a social network itself.
Every influencer, podcaster, whatever, becomes their own little media industry. And the bigger you get, you do almost have more reach. Think of like podcasting versus radio. Radio is, huge. A lot of podcasts reach more people than traditional radio shows do.
Podcasts used to be framed, what I like to, I get invited on a lot of podcasts, including this one. And what I like to do is resist the temptation to go look at all the previous podcasts. I don't want to know anything about you when I show up here. I mean, I met you for a few hours, right, on an island. I thought I was thoroughly entertained. But I want to go in fresh.
Yeah.
And then later, if we start doing it over and over again, I kind of get the groove of where it is. But I've been much more successful doing that in terms of engaging. And podcasts aren't just audio anymore. They're video.
Yeah. That's
what a podcast is. It's just another television show.
Yeah.
Literally.
And my attitude is it's much fresher when you go in cold.
Yes, I agree.
I hate all the scripted stuff and everything else. I just did the Pomps podcast in Miami last week. We had a crazy amount of fun because we said no questions set. Nothing.
Yeah.
Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
That's the way it should be.
Definitely a refreshing format. You're not bound by those restraints of even cursing, like something as simple as that,
right.
or time constraints, like you can really go
or
so
topic
long.
matter. Who knows
right.
where you go, right?
Right, exactly.
We went from wine to Roseanne Barr.
Yeah, exactly. But I think those are serious issues. Let's go back to wine because I want to.
Can we taste?
I want to try. I want to give you. We're going to start with the Chardonnay, even though it's not chilled, but this Chard just won its 5th gold award.
Oh, wow.
Now let me tell you something about the wine business just before we pour this. 97% of wine in America is sold for under $14.99 a bottle.
Wow.
Nobody knows that. That means 3%, which is virtually nothing, are those expensive wines. The challenge becomes, how do you make a wine that tastes like it's worth 60 that you can buy for 11? And I spent a lot of time on this because I wanted my return rates, because I'm going direct to consumer, to be less than 2%, which was my goal. They're significantly less than 1%.
Wow.
So that means I have to kind of adapt to the palate. Most women drink Pinot Grigio and Chardonnay. That's, they drink whites.
Yeah.
So you need to work with a lot of women to sample. Like, I'll blend it. I'll try it on my wife, try it on her friends, then do some serious taste testing, sampling, to get the vibe from what a Miami woman says versus a California woman versus somebody in Champaign-Urbana, to try and nail down, do I have it?
Yeah.
Because I'm blending these wines. I'm adding little elements of other varietals to get that flavor. About 5 years ago, I hit it big when I started taking less. When you put Chardonnay into an oak barrel, it gets buttery, oaky. And women were moving away from that. They were saying, give me something fresher. It's too heavy, And I went in that direction, and then I started winning awards like crazy.
Oh, I'm so excited to try this because I'm usually not a huge Chardonnay fan, but I love Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio, Sancerre. But if you're saying this isn't like a buttery, heavy Chardonnay,
so I took this
be
way off in that direction, which is actually classic Montrachet style, which is what the French do in the DRC region of France. So let's try this. And
How much is that bottle?
This bottle tonight, the reason I'm talking about it, when we go public, we're going to do a giant sale on QVC. Normally it would be $15.99. Tonight it's going to be $11.12.
$15.99 is still a great price.
We're going to sell. I did something remarkable a few weeks ago on QVC. In 20 hours, we sold $5.2 million worth of wine.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you work with Lori?
No, I worked with Mr. Wonderful.
Oh, he's
Chef
great.
Wonderful.
I hear good things, yeah.
No, listen, I'm the wine guy in QVC now because I think people trust me when I say I have your back.
Yeah.
I really know what I'm talking about.
I would trust you, to choose a wine for me.
Will you also show us the right way to taste wine without looking like a fool?
I absolutely
Great
will.
question,
And we have these COVID glasses, which are fantastic.
Yes.
Normally you would never overfill a glass of wine. You have to leave enough space, the air, to mix with the wine so you can swill it a little bit.
Good to know.
Now,
It smells delightful.
yeah, now let's do this, because this should be chilled, but it's not, because it came to the studio. Now the nose, you should be picking up some apricot and apple here,
Yeah.
right?
Get the apple.
Okay, so now take a little bit and just let it roll back on the back of your tongue.
Stunning.
Down the hatch.
Nectar from
That's-
the nipple of Aphrodite.
No, it's really
This is
delicious.
so good.
It's fantastic.
I actually don't drink wine, but
see
it's
that?
delightful.
See how crisp it is? It's not over sweet. It's towards what you liked in the dryness.
Yes.
This is a monster for me. This wine is my #1 seller in whites.
Really?
Yeah.
It's delightful.
It is delightful.
Stunning color as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And so, this kind of wine would be fantastic with cheese. It would be great in the summertime, terrific with chicken. People like to drink it. I always drink a glass of white at 4 o'clock when the market closes, and I have one, sometimes two, and then I go to my reds. So we're going to go to red next. Okay.
Well, this was
That is
Chardonnay
so
was
good.
stunning. Now here.
Sometimes you can
That
be a
is
real
really
asshole and
good.
stick your pinky out like this when you're drinking. See that?
Oh yeah, because
yes.
we're fancy like
Pinkies
that.
out.
Exactly. And you know you're drinking with a dork when you do that. That's-
Yes, someone uncultured.
Okay, now.
And now this is a
Cabernet Sauvignon is known for being the big, spicy American red. For with meat and just a big, bold statement. And what you're looking for here is peppers and tannins and leather and just richness. And you get this by blending it again. And so many people don't understand that to get the tail of the flavor, you have to, maybe you sneak in 2% Pinot, or maybe you put in a Syrah or something. You have to blend. You have to sit in the cellar for days with your test of vin and try different stuff while not getting inebriated, because you stop sensing the flavor. So most of the time I'm tasting wine and spitting it out. A spittoon. So here we go. Now this is going to have a huge nose. Also 5 different awards on this one.
Oh, wow.
The red wine with the white carpet is so dangerous.
I was just thinking pink and white and everything here.
It's fine.
What a disaster.
It'll be a splash of tie-dye.
You know. When's the last time you did a wine tasting here? Never.
Never. We've
This
never
is a
done it on the
first.
show.
Okay, so here we go.
It's good to start with the best. It can only go down from here.
Yeah.
All right, so
again,
smells lovely.
We really want to, we definitely, I don't want to see that drop.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is going to have a peppery kind of spice to it. And the more, if you waited 10 minutes, it would even be more bold, because it's just aerating. This is going to be really good, I can tell. Okay, let's go. Ready?
Oh, wow.
Ichihuahua caramba! That is fantastic.
It's very good.
That is.
You know, I never drink red
I
wine,
never
but it's
drink
very
red
good.
wine.
Isn't
either.
that delicious?
Yes.
People tell me all the time.
I really taste the pepper.
Yeah, you see it? It's there.
Yeah.
And that took a many years. I've been doing this wine for 7 different years, different varietals, and started winning about 4 years ago when I started blending. But, you got to try new things in wine. And by the way, the health attributes of 1 glass of red a day for all year long works in longevity.
Yes,
That's
it's
what
good
they
for your
say.
heart.
Everything. And so you
Keeps
don't
the
have to
blood
get
pumping.
drunk. You can just drink 1 glass of 9 ounces of red wine a day and almost consider it medicine.
You also could get drunk if you want.
Well, that happens to me quite often. I'm trying to avoid it.
Oops.
All right, so where can everyone buy O'Leary wines? On QVC, you're having a big sale.
Well, what I've learned is, and this is the business side again, wine is 3 tiers of distribution. So I used to give all my profits to distributors. Then I learned how to sell direct when I got my social chops together. And I started small, but now I'm huge. So you can buy O'Leary Fine Wines at Shop Mr. Wonderful starting tonight at midnight.
Wow.
When we do our big sale, and that site's going to stay up forever. We're announcing it at the NASDAQ at 4. You're getting a sneak peek.
Woohoo, this won't be up till tomorrow.
Or anytime on QVC.com.
Fabulous.
We're the largest purveyor of wine, and we ship it to you for a penny.
Directly.
Oh,
Wow.
amazing.
Case at 29K.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is great. A lot of people go on to the program where they get shipped a case every 60 days. Excuse me. They put it in a like a laid down kind of wine cellar box, and you stick it in the back of your closet, and boom, you got wine all the time.
For forever, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's delicious. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
You can keep up with Kevin, obviously on Shark Tank, on Instagram at Kevin O'Leary TV, on YouTube. And that's our show. Thank you so much for being here.
I really enjoyed it. One more sip, please.
Cheers to us.
That's great. Cheers. What
To
fun.
us. What fun.
What fun.
Cheers. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.